here's a great way to make your floating jerkbait suspend without using those lead tape strips on the bottom. Hey guys, what I have here is a floating, inexpensive, hard plastic jerkbait. I love these. I use them in saltwater, freshwater, you name it. I've got a whole bunch of different sizes. This trick will work. It takes a little bit more effort than sticking that lead tape on the bottom, but when you're done with it, it's a little bit more professional looking, and it's pretty cool, especially if you got a little bit of extra time on your hands. Basically, you get your hard plastic jerkbait, get some BB pellets, get your BB, match it up to the same size of the drill bit, so you'll need a drill, some JB Weld. To make sure it's going to suspend properly, get like a jug of water bigger than the, length of your jerkbait. And depending on if you want to make it, tune it up, make it look really good, you can use a colored Sharpie, it'll match your jerkbait. So, really easy. First thing you do, you take your jerkbait. If you're uncoordinated, like me, you may think it's better to take off your hooks before you do this. Then take your bait, turn it upside down, put it on a vise. Make sure you're not going to damage it though. Put it on a vise, and you're going to drill a hole in the bottom of that jerkbait using that bit just slightly larger than your BB. Alright, so you're going to take this, you're basically going to open it up, because already most of them are going to have rattles in them anyway. So you're going to drill a hole in it, and then you're going to figure out how many BBs you need to stick in it to make it suspend. So here's a quick way to do that. What you can do with that, you can simply take a few BBs and put them on a piece of tape, like duct tape, and then place them in top side of the container. For instance, here, I stick it right in the container. Yep, it floats. So you want to get it to suspend somewhere down here to sink a bit, but not sink too fast. So you want to make sure you use the right number of BBs in it, because it's not going to take too much weight to get it to sink down there, probably just a few of them. You can take a few, you can tape them onto it to see if it'll suspend and drop, or you can simply experiment with it, but then you might have to reopen where you're gluing it. So really easy, real simple. Here's a quick way to do it. So I've experimented with a bunch of different quantities of BBs. In this case here, if I put it simply in, it floats really high in the surface. It rebounds the surface really quickly. If I put two of them, if I tape two of these BBs to it, it sinks really super fast. And if I put one in, it rises, it floats really slowly. So technically, this one's probably about 1.5 BBs really to be perfect with it. But you got to remember also that because you're using different types of glue in it, it's going to have a different weight to the lure. So in this case here with a JB water weld, I'm probably going to just put one BB in it just for this chance, because it's probably going to take out some of that air in it when I'm sticking it inside of it, and it'll probably work fairly well. You can do the same thing with epoxy, but you got to remember with epoxy, it's not as thick when you're putting it in as this JB Weld will be. So if you put it in when you're covering the hole upside down, it might have a tendency to run inside, and the opposite of that, run out if you're holding it like this. So depending on how thick the epoxy is when you're actually putting it in. So that's why I'm using the JB Marine Weld. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take it, I'm going to take that drill bit, I'm going to drill a small hole. Be very careful, make sure that hole is drilled center, like basically right in the center of it, because off to one side of the knot, off to the sides, it might not run true. And then I'm going to take that, take the BBs, put a BB inside of it, and then I'm going to seal the hole right back up with JB Marine Weld. So I've taken the lure, and I've drilled the small hole in the bottom of it. I'm simply going to take that one BB, insert it inside. Now I've opened my JB Marine Weld. Now this is basically a two-part epoxy, and I'm going to pinch off just a small amount, just enough to fill that hole up. Since it's a two-part epoxy, be sure to thoroughly work that two-part material together to activate it. And if you have a white underbelly of your lure, the color's probably going to match it pretty close anyway. So now I'm simply going to take it and work it around the edges of the hole. Because you stick the whole piece in there, you're going to fill up the body of the lure too much. And the bearings might not move around like they should. So here I've taken the JB Weld and I've filled the hole. It's not totally perfect, but it's pretty close to it. I'm going to come back in a little while when this starts to dry and simply put another layer on top of it. And then I'm just going to take a Sharpie if I want to kind of match the color of the lure. So the JB Marine Weld is hardened. I took a little bit of sandpaper to it, smoothed it down. It works like a champ. Again, you got to kind of experiment with it to see how many BBs are really going to be best for it. And it all depends on the size of the jerkbait that you're using. One may be a little bit too much, and some you may have to put multiple in it to really get it to go down. But if you look at the lure, the way it's sitting, how high it sits in the water before you even start messing with it, you can kind of get an idea that it's not typically going to take that much weight to get it to drop just a little bit. And once you kind of get over that hump, it's just going to simply sink all the way down to the bottom. So as always, please go onto the FIshyaker YouTube page, subscribe, and like us on Facebook. We'll catch you on the water.
FIshyaker.com, the original kayak rigging video series.